when I was starting to like when I met Javier a long time ago, the first or second time that we talked, we were discussing how to create reusable modules for SAF. And I asked Developer Express many times before, like when SAF was just starting, maybe the first year, how you create the reusable modules as they do it. They told me like, go and check the reports module. That's the best implementation that we have that shows how to do it. And a few days ago, I was doing the same because there is the framework that I'm handling, the Ultra modules. We use it mostly internal and in personal projects, but I want to take that to retake that project again. So basically, I asked them, okay, how we should how we should make a reusable module for Blazor, which is a different trick actually. So so far you know that, well, SAF Blazor applications are regular applications in general. So in any Blazor application, if you want to use JavaScript in your component, for example, or use a special CSS styling, you just put them in the www folder. Here you add a CSS file or a JavaScript, for example, and then basically you will have to add it as an HTML tag in your host file. And that's it. I mean, then you can invoke it from JavaScript within your component using the JavaScript interrupt. But this is tricky because if you want to make a reusable SAF Blazor module, okay, what will happen if you put the CSS file here and the reusable module is actually here? It means that you will need to add documentations to tell it, so, okay, download this file, put it on the www folder, then add the reference in the host file. And that's a lot of work. I've been doing that for a while, but then I decided, okay, like their Express, they don't do it like that. They use a different way. So again, like when you ask, you get really amazing answers from them. So I asked them, and there is a ticket here. This is for this one. And Anatol was kind enough to just tell me like, okay, go and check these modules. We do the trick that you want to do there. And I think this is public. Yes, I think it is because I'm not signed in this browser. So anyone can see it. If you want to see what we were talking about, that's the support ticket. Let's do that example. So I don't want to create a new solution for this. So I will reuse this one. Let's see. I think I have another one open here. Let me close this one. And I will just add some JavaScript to it, so it will make sense, because the main problem is when you want to add some other files like JavaScript and CSS file and ship them with your SAF Blazor module. So the trick here is the following. Let's open which one I was using this morning. Maybe it's in the other studio. Yeah, it's this one. I started to do like a drawing canvas, and then the JavaScript started failing, so I decided to do something more simple. So we will do something really simple in this case. But that's the trick that I use to include the Monaco editor, that is the editor from Visual Studio, and make it a reusable module. For example, in the last stand-up, I show the form editor that we have, the online form editor, and the script editor that we have also. And that is using Monaco. And I use it in like 10 different personal applications that I have that I made for my mom, for my brother, for friends sometimes, or experiments. And I was like tired of, okay, like every time I need to make a new application, to add the reference to the host file, to copy the JavaScript that I need, the CSS file that I need. That's why I asked Developer Express, how do I make a reusable XAF Blazor application. So they showed me the trick, and I will share it with you, of course. So okay, so we have here our Blazor module. So the trick starts by copying some files. So I need the ww folder, and I will put this here. Okay, so here I have the CSS and everything. This I don't need. Of course, you can use the same structure if you want, but I don't need these files, so I will just delete them to make the example more simple. And then I will basically add, let's see, a new item. I will add a JavaScript. And let's add JavaScript. And this will be so so creative, the name, like. So in the JavaScript, I'll just do something really simple. It's so simple that it's just this. We will just create a JavaScript that says hello, and this will say like hello from component. And of course, you can go really crazy there, especially if you're integrating dev extreme components. Maybe the scheduler, for example, as Dave said, is not yet there. But if you want to include JavaScript, for example, most of the JavaScript components, they work in one way. You add an HTML tag, and then you run a script, a JavaScript, so you can initialize that component. JavaScript do something to render something different. For example, a drawing canvas, a control, you know, you name it. That's how JavaScript components work in general. You set a tag with an ID, and then you run a JavaScript over that tag and ID. So in this case, we're going to make something really simple. Just say hello. Okay, so now I have my JavaScript. Then I need to add I need to add an extension, and then I need to add some tag helpers. So for that, I will go to my other solution and just get from here. I will just copy all of this. And let's add a new class. And let's replace it with what I have. So here, there are a few things that you need to notice. There are a lot of namespace missing. First, I will just move this to another file so we don't have this mess. So I have one file that is called the tag helper. This is the most important one, actually. Basically, what you do with this tag helper is something super useful, is that you can add them as service in your startup, and whatever you do, whatever it is in here, it will modify the HTML of your host file. So basically, the idea here is that we will add this line instead of modifying our host file every time. We will create an extension that modifies it for us, and then we will add it to the services. So let's import the namespaces. We don't have that reference, so we need to include this reference. It's been called Razor, so let's install the latest version. And let's import the namespaces. Oh, we already have it there. So, and then we need to import another namespace here. So this is basically somehow like middleware. This will execute before the page finishes loading. and it will add these tags that we just created here. So in these tags, usually you add reference to JavaScript files or CSS files. So you don't have to ask the person, hey, okay, go and paste this in your host file. So also the trick here, there are a few tricks that you need to notice. Here, when we use quotes instead of using simple quotes, we have to use double quotes to escape it. That's why you have double quotes here at the beginning and double quotes here in the end. The name of the file, we need to get this name of the file from there. And just put it here. Okay, so usually when you modify your host file, if we go here and here, let's see, maybe I can find one. See, when the reference comes from a reference assembly, you use underscore content and then the namespace or the name of your assembly and then the name of the file. In the opposite case, this is a reference to a physical file. So just telling this like it started in www root, and after that is the CSS folder and then site CSS. So that's actually here. So how you set the route for embedded resources and for physical resources are a little bit different. Like embedded resources, you have to use underscore content at the beginning. Sorry, and embedded resources, you have to use the physical path in general. So let's go back to the stack helper. So let's get the assembly name. So we go here and just replace this here. So what this means is that this tag is going to be added to the header. And the location will be this embed resource within this route. And this route ends up in this www folder. I mean, content and the name of your assembly means that wherever is in the root here will be used. So that's why we specified this name, no folder path. If I want, I can create a folder here. I name it GS and put this here. But here I will have to add tag to the path, so this will be GS also. Okay, so far so good. This will include the JavaScript in general. So then we need to go back and check the extension. So here I will rename the file. And as you can see, this is basically doesn't have anything special. It's an extension class. Extension class is how you add methods to a compiled class that already compiled. Basically, this has nothing to do with XAF or with Blazor itself. It's something that came in C#3 with C#3.5 with the inclusion of link, basically, because they need to add more extensions to the enumerable, for example, add more methods. So basically, the extension is really simple. We add a method named add my Blazor module. You can name it as you want. So I will name it differently in this case. And that will inject the service that we just created or the class that we just created. And basically, ASP.NET Core is collecting all those tag helpers and just execute them before the application runs. So now that what we need to do is go to the startup class. And here in the startup class, we need to add the execute that method. So I want you to notice something. when you do a extension for the iService collection, you usually put it on this namespace because this namespace is always in the startup file. So you will have the extensions available. If not, you will need to import the namespace of this class. So this method shows. So the common pattern is that you put it in a different namespace. This is not the namespace of my application. You put it in a different one in what is already there. So people don't have to figure it out that there is extension that they need to load and they need to add a namespace in the top. Let's go and execute this. So we go, you can put it here at any level. So just see, for example, they have extensions like add XAF. So that's how they add the resources and stuff like that XAF uses. And so we will do the same here. So services, I have it here. Standard module. So, okay, we have modified the tag with the tag helper that include the JavaScript file that we just created, but we're not invoking that in any place. So let's get copy the invocation and let's put it in the component. So let's see. I will do something like super simple, like call it on the onInitialize method. So I'll copy this code and let's go to our property editor. Here. Open this. So we know that in the end, we have the partial class that is part of the component. So there we can basically do an override of the onInitialize method. And since I copied this code, this is not, the name of the function is not resize. The name of the function is hello from components. And there is one more thing that I need. Oh, this is wrong. I love that CodeRush, you have this feature like intelligence. I mean, sorry, spell checking. So let's rename this. And hold on, I need to turn off that phone. Sorry guys for that. I was receiving a phone call and my phone was far away. So, okay, let's go back to this. So this is the function that we want to invoke, and we're still missing some small stuff here. So let me close this. And okay, so far so good, right? Let's go to the property editor. Here we're missing just one thing. We need the JavaScript interrupt. We need to inject the JavaScript interrupt so we can call a JavaScript function from our component. So since I'm lazy, I'm going to go to the other solution. This is how you inject the JavaScript interrupt. First, you need the namespace. So let's put that in the razor part. Okay, so far so good. And then we need a property with the inject attribute, I think, or parameter, inject. So let's go here. And let's put that also somewhere here. And see, that's what I don't like about the Razor components, that the formatting is not totally right. So sometimes you have to format by hand. Okay, so far so good. Let's see. here, this should be, okay, it's working. So we have the reference to the JavaScript interop. So basically when this property editor renders the component, it will also call this JavaScript function that you can use. For example, that's how you use it in Google Maps. Google Maps, they ask to add a tag with an ID and then run a JavaScript that initializes the rendering of the map. So the same thing you use for Google Maps and a lot of other JavaScript components. In this case, we're not going to do anything difficult. We're just going to execute this function that will show an alert that says hello world. So if everything is correct, it means that when I open the detail view, it will render my property editor, and the property editor will execute this JavaScript code. And the beauty of this is that in our application, we didn't add any extra files, and we didn't have to modify also the host page. I hope so. So let's see. Okay, so let's wait for this to load. And maybe it will work the first time. And in the meantime, let me find one last part that I want to show for reusable modules. Okay, so let's give it a try to this. And see, it's executing my JavaScript. So far so good. Just let's change that a little bit. Let me get something from one of the repos that I'm working on at the moment. Just give me 1 sec. And this will make the example even nicer, I think. So module for the other solution, and let's see, it's not this one. What we're going to do is that we're going to add some node updaters, so we can include localized text inside of our components. So let's see, just let me find the updater class that I've been using, so we don't have to start from scratch in that sense. Okay, so by the miracle and copy and paste, I will just come here. Depending on where you want to add your localization, I mean, these messages, you can do it in your agnostic module or in your Blazor module, depending on the structure that you have, right? So let me add one class. And I will paste that here. And okay, so here in the link is the documentation that I used for that. So we will take a look a little bit later. So let's see what I'm missing here. I will copy the namespace from the example. Okay, so let me copy this. Oh no, it's not the documentation. So, okay, the idea uh, of this class is basically I want to inject some nodes in the model. Sorry. So when I localize my application and I create a different version of the model, for example, we usually write the applications in English, even though they might be for a Spanish-speaking customer. And then we localize the application completely. So part of that is basically inject those messages inside of the messages that you want to include, maybe in your property editor or in your custom components. You need to include them in the model so they will be localized when you localize all the other parts of your application. So let's see. This is the node that we're looking. So this will be called demo app stand up. Okay, that's the name, will be the name of the node. And then for this, these are some messages that I want to add to that node. So this will be hello from component. And we just want to add one. We don't need the other ones, but you can inject as many as you want. So let's delete this. This will be demo. What else do I need to modify here? I think that's it basically. I just need to use that in the module. So I'm doing a lot of copy and paste today. Let's see, where do we add that? Let's go to the module. And oh, I have this class. I want to just rename it. I hate to see those class one. Okay, so far so good. Let's go to the module class. And in here, we just need to add another override. And we need to tell it, okay, like include also this node generator updater. So we will pass an instance and let's compile this. And let me show that in the model. So here in the localization node, we'll have another node, see, demo standard, and the message that we have, that we just create is there. So this checks when you create a different version, like in Spanish, you will be able to localize those messages. So now, the next thing that I need.
Andy's back. And muted, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry for that, guys. And thanks to cover me, Dave. So let me just share my screen again, because we're about to finish and this is becoming really interesting. Okay, so we have the message. So we are able to localize our message if we ship module in different languages. Now we just need to use that message somewhere, so it makes sense, right? So just give me 1 second and I'll find a place to put that. Okay, so I will use it in my property editor, in the one that we just created here. So what I'm going to do there is the caption helper that you can use to get those messages is a static class. So I will put it here. and I just need to add the pound sign at the beginning. And then this asks for a few things. It asks for the node that we want to read, then the name of the subnode and the default text. So we will name this default text. So if XAF doesn't find this in the localization node, it will show this default text. Otherwise, it will go and look for this node and this subnode to get the text. So the nodes are demo standard. And where is my here? And the subnode where the message is here. So if I recall well, it's the index, not the name. So let's come here and paste this here. Let's see. When I inject that, I will inject something different. So let's go here. And this will be hello from component from the model node generator updater. This is also really explicit class. So I guess someone like me is inside of developer express. Okay, so far so good. I was seeing like an exception here. Sometimes you see this, but we just need to compile it, I guess, before we run it. And that's not an error actually, or should not be an error. But it is. Let's see, we need to import a namespace, I guess. Yes. So let's cross our fingers. Everyone, please cross your fingers. I want this to work the first time. And again, an error. So let's see what's happening. I think it didn't import the namespace in the end. No, it didn't. So that's what I don't like about Razor components. Sometimes this stuff, they just don't happen at all. See? So I will try to use the full, and now it should work. Yeah, it's working. So let's see. And there's running. So instead of this hello, this is the name of the node, hello from component. So this is not what is going to be shown. What is going to be shown is the new text that I just added because I just modified it here. So even what we're seeing in the model is a little bit behind. The text that will show is this. So let's, just in case, update model in all projects. And let's run it. And then we're just missing like one step that takes like 1 minute, and we have a full reusable XAF Blazor module. So let's see. So let's go here. It will clear the JavaScript. And it didn't find it, found the default text. So let's double check this. So let's see here. What are we? Oh, yes. See the name of, I changed the name of the node, not the text of the node. So here we're adding like string value. So this. Hello from and the ID continue being this. Just let me double check that in the component. Yeah, is that. So I will just update this one more time just in case. What basically, when you execute that, what's happening is that it will go through the modules and cascade down the changes. So just let's close all of this, and I will just double check the model before we start again. So oh, wrong one. Standard demo. And hello from component, and yes, we have a longer text, the one that I just added. So let's continue. And if in this case is correct, we will see the message that we just injected there. Okay, we have our JavaScript message and the text that we just inject in the model. So basically, those are all the steps that you need to do to create a reusable module in general. And the last one, this one, basically you just need to pack it as a NuGet package if you want, and you can just use that NuGet package everywhere or anywhere. And basically, you just do this, and let's see. When you execute the .NET Publish, you will create a NuGet package. And these options are a little bit different if you're using Visual Studio 2019. They're a little bit more simple. In Visual Studio 2022, they put all the possible options in the options of the project, so it looks more overwhelming. But beside that, oh, this is not the right one, it's this one, actually. So when you build on release, let's do that. You will create a NuGet package. Usually, I never use the options screen from the studio. I just add those options to the csproj file. So, but I want to show you that the NuGet package should be here. So if we go to bin, release, see the package is there. If we open that, it will show that the DLL is there and all the possible requirements and so on and so forth. So you're ready to distribute this package to someone else or put it in nuget.org. So see, those are all the requirements, and inside is the compiled DLL and the resources, the JavaScript that we just added. So when you use this in a different application, like in a new application, for example, you will have your property editor there, the JavaScript that your property editor uses, and the only thing that you will need to do, it will become just one line to go to the startup of that new application and invoke the extension that we create to add the tags to the host page. So that's basically it. I think that they make a great job with the tag helpers because you can pack everything in just one assembly and redistribute it everywhere. We do that really often here in the office. And if there is any questions, you're free to open your mic or send it in the chat.